Now, you may have never heard this before, but getting your weight back is the same thing as staying in your posture. So you have a natural reflex built in that if your weight starts to go too far back, you're naturally going to hinge forward, you stick your butt out, and it's just like a golf swing. Now, I first learned about this when my son began to walk, and he's wobbly. You're sure, I was absolutely positive that I'm watching him wobble around, he's going to fall back, land on his head, and we're going to have to go to the hospital. He's wobbling around like he's at a 12-pack, right? There's no way this guy's staying up. He's going to be falling down. But sure enough, he never fell back and cracked his head. Every single time he started to fall back, and all babies have this, from what I've seen, I've probably seen a dozen kids do it once I've noticed this pattern, is that when you start to fall back, at some point, your weight gets too far back and you're going to fall over this way and you're going to fall back and crack your head. Well, built into your DNA is when you have that sensation, you immediately stick your butt out to get your chest forward. So your butt goes back, your chest goes forward, and that keeps me from falling back. So as I start to feel like I'm about to top over, you can do the same thing at home right now. Immediately stick your butt out, hinge forward. All of a sudden, we're in a golf posture. And sure enough, every time he did fall down, he did exactly that, kind of folded like a lawn chair to catch himself, and he popped right back up to wobble around somewhere else and do the same thing about 100 times a day. So the good news is here, if you're struggling to stay in your posture, by doing this the right way like I'm going to show you, it's built into your DNA. Nobody showed him how to do that. You already did that. It's built in there from day one. You'll have this same sensation. So in the golf swing, if we want to stay in our posture, I'm going to set this club up in the middle of my feet. I'm going to put it in my arches here. So my heels are behind the stick or on this side. My balls of my feet are in front of the stick. Now from here, again, start to feel like you lift your toes up to where they're not touching the ground on this side of the stick. The toes are up. And as you start to go farther back, you're going to have the sensation to do this to keep from falling backwards. That's exactly what staying in the posture in the golf swing does. So as we make a golf swing, here's exactly what I want you to do. Do about 20 reps for me doing this. Now, as I start my swing, I want to get a little shift of the weight to the middle of my right foot. Now, this is a mistake that I see a lot of people make. They'll immediately try to stay in their posture in their downswing. So it'll look something like this. They'll be here in their downswing, trying to get as much in their posture as they can. And then, or backswing, excuse me, not downswing. As soon as they start their downswing, they're popping up out of their posture. You look at it on video and you get really frustrated. Here's a solution to that. As you do your backswing, stay fairly tall. I don't have to bend down that much. And if you look at when I study PGA Tour players throughout history, you'll see their heads stay about level or just barely down. You don't really see them going down a huge amount in the backswing. So in the backswing, we're just going to simply take a backswing. I'm going to feel my weight equally balanced between my toe and my heel. I'm going to feel like my weight is on the inside of my right foot so I don't sway or slide over this way. And then I'm going to turn into that right foot. Now keep a little bit of flex in your knee. Keep this knee facing somewhat forward. Again, if I straighten it completely out, that is okay if you do it the right way and I keep it angled in. But to keep things simpler, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to have a big sway there. So I've turned into my right side. If I was to drop a club from my nose, I would have rotated a little bit, and that nose would be kind of behind the golf ball here. This leg would be angled in, and you can have a little tiny bit of flex in this knee, and the knee would be facing forward. If I'm doing this the wrong way, I'd be here, reverse pivot. My knee's now facing out this way. When I'm looking from face on, this is not angled in, it's angled out. And when we're doing this, a lot of times we'll reverse pivot. My nose, instead of being on the right side of my belt buckle and behind the golf ball, as if I've done this correctly, will be on the left side of my belt buckle and kind of feeling like it's going this way. So hit that nice checkpoint, stay fairly level with your head as you're doing that. And then from there, I'm going to shift my weight to the left first, and then I'm going to feel after it gets to the left, it goes back into the heel. So a good little drill to do this is actually lift up your toe off the ground and feel like you're going to fall. So I want to feel like I'm actually going to fall over this way. So I was going to fall back. Now naturally, as soon as you feel that, you're going to have a natural urge to lean forward and stay in your posture, and that's exactly what staying in your posture is. So long story short, I'll really simplify this for you. Get your weight as far back into your lead heel as you can, and you'll naturally hinge forward to keep from falling over. It's as simple as that for staying in your posture. Now, there's two pieces of this. Staying in your posture and shallowing out your club in the downswing go together. It's like hot dogs and 4th of July. You can't have one without the other. Let me explain what I mean by this. If I'm in my posture nicely and my club is perfectly on plane or shallowed out, which you're going to see with all great players. If I get this club steeper, I'm going to be chopping down in the ground, I'm going to be over the top, I'm going to create all kinds of compensations that I really don't like the look of, losing lag, falling back behind the golf ball and drop kicking it. A lot of those problems that you're having in the golf swing come from weight shift, posture, staying shallow. You do those things, a lot of this other stuff's going to iron itself out. So if I'm in a good posture, good shallow plane, well, what happens if I stand up? If I stand up, it'll shallow out the club more. If I go down more into my posture, it'll steepen the club up. So a lot of times what players are doing is they're not getting their weight back. They're standing up out of their posture a little bit in an effort to get this club farther back here. So they're used to kind of swinging the club steeper. So long story short, if I stand up out of my posture, I'm typically going to have a steeper club shaft here to try to compensate for me standing up out of my posture. If I stay in my posture, now I may not be used to shallowing this club out. So if you've been struggling with shallowing, staying in your posture is going to help. If you've been struggling with your posture, shallowing out the club is going to help. So these two, again, they're tied together. They link together. The more I stay in my posture, the more I need to shallow the club out, and vice versa. Now, here's the cool thing. This is my new favorite training aid here. It's called the swing plate. It's got a little alignment rod in here. I'll put a link down below in the description. If you buy from that link, I'll make a few bucks from this, helps support the channel. You can probably make one of these, go into Home Depot, figure it out yourself, but this one's got some cool features that you're going to like. It's got an alignment stick you put in there. You can buy a package with it in there. Also, if you throw a pull noodle on top of it, that keeps it a little safer in case you do happen to hit this stick. Now, on this is an angle finder, so I can change this to any angle that I want. And it sets here with a little bolt. And I know for PGA Tour players with a middle iron, so a 6-iron, 60 degrees is their vertical swing plane. That means that's the angle the club is coming down on. It's going to be very consistent with all tour players. And the cool thing is this has an angle finder. I'm just going to set it to 60 degrees, right what the tour players are doing. Now, if I put this on the ground here, all I have to do is put my golf ball kind of in line with this white logo on the plate, roughly there. And if I do that, I'm going to scoot this forward. Actually, I'll find my stance to set up here. So if I was to get steeper, I would hit this stick. If I get shallow here, I'm under this stick. Now, I'm going to go ahead and set up to this golf ball. This is going to be in the middle of my feet. You can take another alignment stick or a club. It has little holders here. Actually, I'll grab one more alignment stick while we're talking about this, and it'll make it easier to demonstrate. But I could put that in that little hole there, and it's already set up to where it shows me where my golf ball is going to be lined up. So for example, if I get that there, I like to set my golf ball about 6 inches inside of that because that gives me enough room to swing under here and not whack into the stick. You can technically go a little closer to the golf ball, closer to this alignment stick, but now you've really got to shallow it out or you're going to whack into that thing. I recommend going a little farther away at first. Again, putting this stick in the middle of my feet. Now from here, the cool thing is there's no way to get steep here without hitting this noodle. So I can feel getting my weight back, getting in my posture, and now all I got to feel like is I'm very close with my chest. My left arm is more across my body. I may also feel like my palm of my hand is more up to the sky this way so that the club shaft is steepening up. This would be elbow, flapping elbow, steeper club. This would be tucked right elbow, shallow club. And from there, I just feel like I'm falling to my left. That keeps me in my posture. And then I just miss this pull noodle, and I pretty much got everything lined out. Now, if you do this and exaggerate a little bit, you may overdraw it slightly to try to miss this pull noodle. That's completely fine at first. Here I'm hitting a 7-iron. Again, first swing of the day, pretty daggone solid. I just overdid it to the right and got 170 yards, carry 178 total. Pretty daggone good for the first swing of the day. I didn't even have any warm-up swings. Now, as you get better and better at this, and you start to get those shots out to the right that are drawing, and you will typically see a draw when you're doing this, all I need to do is still get my weight to the left, still stay in my posture, and then just go as left as much as I can. So basically, Here's the thing, if you struggle to open up your hips, if you struggle to, you hear everybody talking about turning the corner and turning back into the left in the golf swing, and that's always been tough for you to do, it's because we're not shallowed out in our posture. Once I get shallowed out and in my posture, I can open up my hips as much as I want, and that club's gonna be delivered square. I can turn back into the left because it's coming from the inside. If I'm steep and I open my hips, all of a sudden I'm way over the top. If I'm steep and I turn back into the left, it's a big slice. So shallowed out, stay in your posture like we're doing with this drill, this two-step drill here, and then you can turn left as hard as you want to and still hit a pretty daggone good straight golf ball. We'll see with that one. I felt like I just turned that way. All of a sudden, a nice little draw, 191 yards. I'm gonna stop on that one. I'm not gonna be able to do much better than that. Now, there's a second piece of this. This is a fantastic two-part drill. Keep you in your posture, shallow out the club, all these great things that we just talked about. But I've found that if you can pair up what you're supposed to do with the hands, it gives you the complete picture. And I have a great bonus video for you. It's called the knuckle dragger drill. And I love this because once people feel this, now they see how to get a bunch of lag. They see how they can move their hands a certain way where the club will just catapult through there and get a lot of easy club head speed. I'm going to play a preview of that video here in a second. All you need to do is go ahead and click on the iCard that pops up on your screen. If you don't see that, click the link down below in the description. You'll get instant access to that video. You're going to love what I show you with the hands, especially when you pair it up with here today. You're like, this is all the pro stuff that I see the guys on TV doing. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So let's go ahead and get started. Awesome video for you. This one is what I call knuckle dragger. This is one of the best ones, one of the big missing pieces to players that are struggling to get more lag. Now, let's talk about when you lose lag, what's happening. A lot of times what's happening is as you make your downswing, if we're looking from this down the line view, what happens is my hips go toward the golf ball, they start to slide forward. My chest moves back away from this golf ball, so I'm getting farther away from the golf ball, and then all of a sudden I cast, I flip, and I don't have a lot of lag there. Well, look how far my hands are away from the ground. Also notice when I get my hands closer to the ground, so as my hands get lower, then what happens is they also go forward more. So as I want to have more lag, when you feel like your knuckles are dragging the ground, then that club is naturally going to lag back behind, and then you're going to release that out in front. When your hands are far away from the ground, well, if I had all that lag, where would I be swinging? I'd be swinging a foot over top of the golf ball. So you have to kind of flip, release that lag early to just make contact with the golf ball at all. So having those knuckles feeling like they're scraping the ground is really going to be a big key. Now another piece to this, again, when I talked about losing that posture, your hips go forward. You're going to want to feel like, as those hands scrape the ground, your knuckles drag the ground.